Hello, welcome to Food Lovers Dietitian Menu Inspiration number 5. Now, I really like this menu inspiration post. It's got some twists to it. It takes some traditional type dishes and meals and pulls in some new ingredients to give it a modern twist. It deconstructs a couple of dishes and does some interesting things there. And it also presents some ordinary meals in interesting glassware that makes it a bit special. And in fact, many of these snacks that are in this day's post of menu inspiration, you can actually glam up and use for a dinner party and serve to other people. So let's jump straight in. It starts off with breakfast, and breakfast is a brekkie parfait. Now, parfait is like a trifle, but really it's just layers of different components of the dish. And it just takes 3 ordinary ingredients, breakfast cereal, some yogurt and some fruit, and makes them look really special. So using the Food Lovers Dietitian meal planner that I've linked to in the post and that you can download and keep as a lovely looking little PDF on your phone or iPad handy. It's a great tool for just helping you take the food that you love and knowing the sorts of amounts to use and put together to also be able to find and keep that healthy weight. So this breakfast parfait takes a larger carb serve, the one larger carb serve that's in the meal planner of breakfast cereal. So that's 3/4 of a cup of flaky breakfast cereal, and it takes actually 3/4 of a cup, 3/4 of a dairy serve. So it's actually half a cup of low sugar, low fat, natural Greek yogurt. 1/3 of a cup is actually half a dairy serve, and this half a cup is 1.5 times, so it's 3/4 of a dairy serve, and it takes half a fruit serve, which is half a cup of fruit, and it layers it, finishing with some berries on the top from the fruit serve, a few flaked almonds. If I had fresh mint, I would have put fresh mint on there, and it just serves it in an ordinary drinking glass. It could have been something more spectacular, but that's what was on hand at the time. And that's a lovely breakfast dish. Then the other 1.5 fruit serves that are on the meal planner, I've divided up between morning snack, afternoon snack and an evening snack. And I've done different things with them that I just wanted to talk about now. So in the morning, I've actually served it, the half a cup of fruit, so in this case berries, on top of half a dairy serve, which is 1/3 of a cup of low sugar, low fat yogurt, but I've mixed it with a teaspoon of no added sugar drinking chocolate. I like Nativa, that's the one I use at the moment, and it's actually low sugar, but it's artificially sweetened, so it actually gives the yogurt a really rich chocolatey flavour for very few kilojoules. It's like a chocolate mousse. So again, I've served that in a drinking glass. I've put the chocolate yogurt in first and topped it off with the berries on the top, and that makes a lovely special morning snack. In the afternoon, what I've done is I've made a deconstructed fruit trifle. It's been Christmas here in Australia, and we often have cherries around at Christmas time, so I've used cherries and nectarines are a summer fruit for us. So half a cup of that, and I've used the port wine no added sugar jelly, and I've put some jelly with the cherries and nectarines, but I've also used 1/4 dairy serve of cheesecake cream, which I've linked to in the post. I've got the recipe there. So that's like a dollop of cheesecake cream that I've made from blending low-fat cottage cheese with a little bit of sweetener to taste. You can use a little bit of sugar if you prefer sugar. I'm a bit of a sweet tooth and I like mine quite sweet, so I use an artificial sweetener in mine. So a tablespoon and a half of the cheesecake cream, garnished again with a few flaked almonds and some mint, and that's a lovely deconstructed trifle dish. And then in the evening, another gorgeous snack that you could also serve even as a dessert at a dinner party is a deconstructed Eton mess. Now traditionally an Eton mess is made with a lot of whipped cream, a lot of meringue and a little bit of fruit. It's really quite rich. Now in this case I've just taken a store-bought pavlova nest, which are really quite small. It's quite a small amount of meringue, crumbled that up in the cocktail glass. You could even use half of one if you'd prefer. Put a dollop of the cheesecake cream in there and some cherries in there as well. These are actually cherries that I'd poached and cooked up, so they're lovely and juicy. So that uses half a cup of fruit, a quarter of a serve of dairy, and a little bit of meringue in there to make it the Eton mess. Now you, on a day-to-day basis, you would probably leave the meringue out, but I've included it in there just to show you how you can make that special for very few extra kilojoules, garnished it with mint, and that's a lovely dish. At lunch, I've included a twist on the traditional sandwich, used a wrap, or you could use a flatbread, which are great because you can put lots of salad in there. So I've used a cup of salad that I had on hand, and I've put in some smoked salmon. I've used my small protein serve there, the 40 grams of smoked salmon, which is going to be tasty on its own, but not quite tasty enough for my liking. I think sandwiches and wraps, they need plenty of tasty ingredients. So I've put 2 teaspoons of mayo on that flatbread as well. That's 2 fat serves out of the meal planner. I could have used pesto, that would have been nice, in which case I could have used twice as much. I could have used 4 teaspoons of pesto for my 2 fat serves, which would have been a nice rich flavour. I've rolled that up and cut it in half, and that's been lunch. Dinner is another take on an old favourite. It's the steak and salad and mash, but rather than using a beef steak, a lean beef steak, which I could have, I've actually opted to use my larger protein, 120 grams of raw weight of marinated kangaroo steak, which was actually really lovely, and you just buy in the supermarket. And I sliced that thinly before frying it in a teaspoon of oil in a non-stick fry pan. I served that warm over salad vegetables that I had on hand, and I did some blanched asparagus spears. So all I did was I snapped the woody ends off, and I poured boiling water on and left it for a few minutes before draining it. And those were terrific. Another seasonal vegetable that's been in season here in Australia, and put that on the salad. I served that with a couple of teaspoons of my favourite dressing, which I've linked to on the post for you to be able to make. A couple of teaspoons of that dressing is a fat serve. So I've ended up using 2 fat serves for dinner, 2 fat serves for lunch, and with that, instead of, I also put a dollop of yogurt on there too, so another quarter of a dairy serve. You can see how I've used quarter of a dairy serve throughout the meals and snacks, just because it gives you so much more scope and variety. It's lovely. And with that, instead of doing mashed potato, which I could have done, I've actually put half a cup of white bean mash or butter bean mash. I love the white bean mashes. You can use chickpeas or cannelloni beans or in this case butter beans. I just use the canned beans and drain them and mash them up with some olive oil, like a teaspoon of olive oil, a minced garlic, tablespoon of lemon juice, and half a cup of that is a small carb serve, which is terrific with dinner, especially with meats and chicken, but I sometimes have it just with salad on its own. It's so yummy. And being a legume dish, it's got lots of goodies in it, lots of fibre. It does double duty as a vegetable as well as a protein food, so it's a great as a vegetarian protein source. So I've put the butter bean mash with the warm kangaroo salad, which was really delicious, and brought that whole day together. So as well as a quarter of a serve of milk, which I left for tea and coffee, that's covered off on all the serves from the food groups in the meal planner in the right quantities. And I've included in the post a checklist. so that you can see how the different meals and snacks have contributed to the different serves of the 5 food groups. Now, this, of course, like always, isn't a meal plan that you need to follow to have a healthy weight. It's just trying to show you ideas and different ways that you can use your foods that you love in the right amounts to make them work for a healthy weight as well. Now, if you try some of these things, please do take a photo and post it on the Facebook page. Show us what it looks like and tell us it was in menu inspiration number 5, so we can join the dots together. Leave a comment on this post, tell me what you think, but I'd love to see the photos of what you cook and how you're using the Food Lovers meal planner to create your meals and snacks. So I hope you've enjoyed menu inspiration number 5, and I look forward to seeing you for menu inspiration number 6.